Okay. This is what I told you guys. I was like, oh God, talking about it makes me so mad. When you start, not even talking about just the gender stuff, but when we start introducing these ideas of racism, of prejudice, of oppressed and oppressor, aren't we just offering up things to be considered that kids would not have thought about otherwise?
Yeah, it gets their minds thinking. It gets their minds wondering. I mean, this is a billion-dollar industry with pharmaceutical sales and procedures. So there is an agenda behind this, but there also is the fact that, the principal said, I've known people who identified as something else, and had they had the support back then, I am not against the LGBTQIA plus community. I want to say that here right now. I have compassion and I have empathy for them. They are people who want to belong and be accepted. I told the principal, I said, this is not my issue. My issue is that you are teaching things to my children without parental knowledge and consent, first and foremost. And secondly, the lack of transparency. At least tell the parents what is being discussed behind closed doors so that we can have roundtable discussions at home.
But isn't that the whole point, is that they're saying you can't be trusted, which is why there is a bill, as an example, in Vermont that says that the teachers and the school can keep information from the parents.
That's correct.
They believe that the schools believe, the teachers union, the national school board, whoever it is, believes that you as the parent cannot be trusted, and therefore it's okay to lie to you, and for the school district, the administrators, and everyone else in the school to know things about your children, to know whether violence is happening in the school. They don't think you as a parent can be trusted with that information, and it's like they're trying to keep the children safe
from the parents,
from their parents, as if they know better what a child needs and will be there to suffer the consequences with
absolutely.
them.
Parents' rights are being usurped, and this is not just happening here in our state of Vermont, it is happening nationwide. I'm actually native to Portland, Oregon, and I'm hearing examples of things happening at schools in the district from teachers and people who are behind the scenes saying that bills are being placed into action that are turning into laws that allow children to receive gender-affirming care, even from the school nurse.
Oh God. Okay. So this is, I think, part of what makes it so egregious and gross to me is these, we're giving hormones, okay? When you mess with a person's hormones, it creates a cascade of other problems and consequences in the human body. And so that's why even, there's a push to have birth control over the counter. And I'm like, that's estrogen and progesterone and things like that. These things, number one, cause cancer. They change the brain chemistry and the way that things develop. It's not just about your sex organs being messed with. It affects your thyroid, your pituitary gland. I mean, it will be detrimental in a way that cannot even be conceived of, and yet we're just throwing it around. Things that are prescriptions that cause cancer, that create blood clots.
Sure, it's a form of sterilization as well. And so, yes, children are being targeted. Children are absolutely being targeted, and their minds are young, they're pliable, and so it is definitely an issue.
So we know this stuff is going on, right?
Yeah, I want to give an example. May I give an example of, so there's Chloe Cole. I'm not sure if you've heard of Chloe Cole.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So here's an example of a 15-year-old girl who is now saying that she felt forced and coerced by her providers to receive a double mastectomy and hormonal substitutions to begin her transgender process. She's now 18 years old, desiring to detransition.
And you know what's so crazy, as if the whole thing isn't crazy. I just got to even take that out of my vocabulary because it is just outrageous, all of it. I hear practitioners and nurses say things like, well, you can just put boobs back on. You can just add breasts back. And it's like,
Yeah.
No, you can't.
Right. So
a
with
mammary is a very specific thing that is intended to feed a baby. If you remove that, not to mention the not that your breasts are, having a major effect on your health outcomes, but you're just removing body parts that do stuff.
Yeah, so Chloe Cole has a lawsuit going with Alliance Defending Freedoms, I believe, at the moment, or it might be Liberty Counsel.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a legal national team. We'll
look
verify
it up. We'll put it in the description.
Yeah, so Chloe Cole is asking others to join her. She wants to detransition. She said, "I made an adult decision as a child."
And that's what is most important for us, I think, to be talking about. I don't remember. It was somebody from Vermonters for Good Governance I was talking to who said gender transition as a child cannot be informed consent because they haven't, to be maybe crude about it, they haven't had an orgasm. They haven't had an orgasm and they haven't had sex. And so if you give a child hormones or gender affirming care that makes it so that they can never achieve climax or orgasm, then that is the definition of uninformed consent. They don't know what you're taking away from them.
Yeah, correct. And we have another case in the UK, the Tavistock Gender Clinic. There's 1,000 families coming forth with children who have mutilated bodies from their transgender processes. And it's a class action lawsuit that is against the Tavistock Gender Clinic.
Do you think the superintendent of Ferrisburg, if they had a student that was anorexic, who believed that they were too fat and therefore were starving themselves, do you think the solution from that superintendent, from that school district, from the A-bar teaching, do you think they would encourage that child to go in for liposuction?
No, I do not believe that they would. And so, back to when Aiden became a brother, when the principal, the teachers, I even know of teachers who do not desire to read these materials to the children, although they are terrified of losing their positions. So after these books are read or the YouTube video is played, the principal, my third grade daughter said the principal came into her classroom to answer questions on sexuality for the entire class. There was a ton of confusion for the third graders after this book was read. So, they had questions as how can a woman marry a woman and have a baby together? So the principal's answering these questions for the third graders. Yeah, I know, it's speechless. It's hard to comprehend. I've been living this. I've had time to let it sink in and process and to take action. The principal and the teacher said verbatim, "This is our favorite book and we will be reading it again later this year." And my daughter said that the teacher the principal hinted at that if you feel similar as to this child in the book who's gone through their transgender process. The child in the book even says toward the end of the book, "My parents made a mistake. They didn't know what gender I wanted to be. I wanted to choose my own name for myself." And so this book is about, the mother being expectant with her second child. And so this transgender child is saying, "I want to help pick the name for the baby. Let's make it gender neutral. Let's make it so the baby will be able to have a name and be able to choose their gender identity for themselves when they get to a certain age."
So it's even, they're the thing that is so gross and insidious about some of these books that I've heard about is, in addition to that, and with the help of the teachers teaching it, it is done with the intention of undermining the parents and undermining the relationship of the parent and child.
Yes.
If we say your parents made a mistake or your parents aren't safe to tell the truth to, what kind of damage, additional, let's keep secrets. Oh my God, Tara.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I know.
If it was anybody else saying that to our kids, we would lock them up and say that they were a child molester. We would say that they were grooming the child.
Yes.
Why is it okay? Why is it okay for the school district to do something that if it were an individual person, we would have them arrested and go to jail?
Right. So that's the thing, is behind the scenes, as I keep saying, it's without parental knowledge and consent. There are even stories on the West Coast of children choosing their own pronouns and changing their names. And so teachers make actually a new chart or thing for the child where they are actually starting to do procedures for these students without parental knowledge and consent because they're under a new identity.
Oh my God.
The child, may have had a certain name and they, decide that they identify as the opposite sex, and so they choose a different name, and the teachers are actually creating files for these children under their new identities.
Oh my God, the undermining of the family and what that kind of confusion can do to a child. Oh my God, this makes me so sad. These poor little children, they must be so confused.
Yeah.
And think about, you guys, when you were a little kid. I don't know if you experienced this, Tara, but I will share that when I started my period, when I was a child, oops, I'm mushing my microphone over here, you guys. When I started my period, I was so angry and I was so frustrated. And I just remember being so uncomfortable in my body and nobody really talking to me about that. Nobody saying why it was beautiful to be a woman and all the benefits and how great it would be, and that, yes, it's uncomfortable, but nobody talked to me about that stuff. I just remember being very bitter and frustrated, and because it's uncomfortable and it hurts and whatever. If I had hit that age today, somebody would have said to me, well, the reason you're uncomfortable in your body is because you should have been a man, or you should have whatever. As if pubescence and growing up isn't hard enough. Boys and girls picking on each other. Your body is changing. You are trying to figure out your place in the world. There starts the separation from your parents to begin with, and the self-actual.
It's a lot.
To add that much confusion to the process, and then also to say that your family is not safe,
right?
Your church is not safe, whatever group you are a member of is not safe. So you're already experiencing all these changes that are normal and uncomfortable, and now we're telling you you're unsafe on top of it.
Right.
What kind of sick, awful thing is that to do to a child?
Yeah. Well, it's all about equity. It's all about equity, right? And so that was something that I brought up in the meeting with the principal and the district equity coordinator for Ferrisburg. I said, it doesn't feel equitable for the families who desire to opt out of this type of curriculum and material.
And are they not acknowledging, are they just totally pretending like this kind of stuff doesn't affect the kids negatively in any way? Are they justifying in your conversations? I might be asking you to speculate here, Tara, but are they saying whatever damage it doesn't matter because there's this other benefit? Are they justifying it in some way?
I think they genuinely believe that they are helping the children, and it's justified in their minds. Although, so many research and statistics are coming out that children who go through their transition process, or teenagers who go through their transition process, even adults now who have gone through gender affirming care, they are not comfortable in their own bodies.
Still.
They say that it did not help. The physical procedures, the hormonal injections, the mastectomies, all of the rearranging of body parts has actually only increased their disdain and their hate for life because they are now in physical pain.
Oh, God. Can you imagine? Oh, my God. I'm going to throw up. I'm sorry. When I think about the emotional turmoil, I get physically ill. I have a physical reaction because I know how uncomfortable I was. And to imagine someone in that state of suffering or perceived suffering, and then instead of saying, oh no, you are perfect and you are beautiful, let us help you and love you, let us help you understand the feelings that you're having, instead of giving that loving care to help people understand what's going on, we're saying, no, we're affirming you in your discomfort, And instead of
Yeah.
helping you find comfort,
Yes.
we're going to lop off body parts. We're going to give you hormones and medications that are going to make you sick and create all kinds of problems. Just adding to your physical discomfort.
Right.
How do they imagine that that is actually going to help when it's really just adding more stuff to try to cope with?
Right.
Oh my God, the physical, you guys, I don't know if you know this, but even just the physical recovery for like breast implants and things like that, you can't lift things. You can't work for a month. You can't.
Yeah. So yeah, even, back to Chloe Cole's case, for example, it's crazy. There are laws, and there are even laws in the state of Vermont for counseling. If a child comes to a counselor, if somebody comes to the counselor, you have to affirm gender identity. You have to affirm. There's no redirecting. Children have one option, and they are being guided and directed without having informed consent.
This is so gross. Okay, so we've really dug in here to the problem. Would you share the thing that, in hearing your story and your conversations with the school district and the superintendent, I was really shocked by how much they actually revealed to you.
Right.
So share a little bit, if you would, some of the more egregious things that the school district said or copped to that